Hey guys, so um, this project is called Minupet, and if you have been following me all this time, you would already know what I'm talking about. But in case you are new to the channel, Minupet is pretty much a pet care and dating platform for pets that allows you to find other pets. You can swipe right, swipe left, but if you swipe right, then you are most likely interested in going for a pet date, and you can match with the pets. And if they also swipe back at you, then you get a match and you guys can have a discussion and plan a date for your pets. We also have like other features that I've worked on, which includes that you could have health consultations with AI in this platform. Online doctors consultation is also like available. These are things that I've already implemented, but I'm still like trying to clear these features to go live as well. Right now we are currently live, but only turned we have only turned on the pet dating feature because other features need certain amount of like finishing touches to before they can be ready. The schedule for care feature is also available where you can create help for friends and family, or for yourself, or for someone who is sick, went through a surgery and cannot take care of themselves and their pets. Now we provide a platform that you can assist those people, create a page for them, and then you can share this to our community where people in the community can volunteer to help a pet that is sick. We already have so many people, to help a pet that is needing help, help someone who is sick to take care of their pets. Now we do have a lot of persons who are already waiting to help as pet sitters, but why we've not yet launched this feature is because we want to release feature by feature and not make the users feel overwhelmed by so many features at a time. But that feature is pretty much ready. I'm going to show you today, right now, how I have implemented notification localization from backend side. So we have push notifications that send notification to users pertaining to certain actions, and it is localized, and I will show you how I translated into different languages so that notifications will be different depending on the user preferred language. So this video is going to be very short, but this is like my first time going live on YouTube, and I'm trying to understand how it works. I just did like a very rough setup of OBS. So I have this mic from Rhodes. I have OBS Studio, and I have only one person that is viewing this right now. So if you are that one person, shout out to you, and let's dive into what is going on right now. I hope you can hear me. You can leave a comment in the live chat and I can see them right away. So I'll show you how I did template the translation into different languages. Previously, I had one. It's still I believe it still like needs improvements, but I would already show you how I've started improving on it. So I do have this template where it contains a language. Language here is what we would look like an enum if you are coming from languages that has enums. In Golang, this is written in Golang. This is the backend. It does not have enums. So how we do in Golang is that we create a constant variable and we create a type. So for example, I've created a type and I created constant variables that is of that type. So this is pretty much how we do it in Golang. And here it represents the different languages. And just to let you guys know that I actually started writing Golang this year. So I have pretty much a very beginner experience on Golang, but I was able to build this backend, and it contains a whole lot of things. I followed a bunch of tutorials, and if you want me to guide you on how you could learn a new language, drop a comment on the comment section or in the chat, and I will work a video on that. So I believe that Golang is pretty much very easy to learn if you are coming from other languages and you are already experienced. But if you are new to programming as well, it could be also very simple to you. For me, it was just a walkthrough. I already started in the beginning to skim through the documentations and went straight into building the first APIs. And it's like really super easy. I would encourage you to actually use Golang if you are looking at a really quick step to backend. I also have background in working with PHP, Flutter, and Dart. Golang is pretty much very close to Dart in terms of syntax, and it will be easy if you are a Flutter engineer. You could already be able to transition with Golang. So if you want, that's just like heads up. But back to business. Here I created like a translation variable that holds, it's actually a map, what we will know as a map if you're coming from that or other programming languages. It is a map of strings, and it's mapping the key based on languages, and then mapping key and values for the translation. So for example, here is English, the key, and it creates a map of another key value pair where the key is the translation key and the value is like the intended translation string. So for example, then if a user says, if there is like this string is called left a comment on, I will show you what this actually means. So to translate this key, I created another translation for ET, which is Estonian language, and then I will create the same key. I don't know if you could actually see if my fonts are very small. Maybe I can increase the fonts a little bit for you. Okay, so here I have added this into the maps where I already had coded the different strings that I need to be translated in various languages. And then because like we mostly know how to do translation in the front end side, which we use like ARB files on the front end side, but in Golang I found that it's a bit more tricky, and I didn't want to use packages to do this because I mean it's something that I could do already. There was no point to use packages. But one downside of it is that for every key that needs to be translated, you need to do a check in the, it needs to do pretty much a find in the map. But then using maps, it's like a very linear time that will be spent on finding these keys, because it pretty much just you pass the key that you need to find. So it's a quite efficient enough, to find things in a map. So, but if you were doing it in any other way, I wouldn't recommend doing this. I would probably say have like use a translation tool that will translate into one big file. Then it will map and match these keys from only one map sort of structure. But here I did it this way because like I had to do things pretty fast and get my result. I go by this principle. I don't want to waste too much time overthinking, overkilling stuff where I haven't even known whether it's going to work out or not. So with this, I created this function that can convert string into these language types. It's just a switch case. So if I had many languages, I would list them in the switch case and return the type language. Now, what happens here is I created this template struct, which tells us exactly how we want the message to look like. The first key or property of the struct here is called template, and template is pretty much a HTML style template. So Why do I have HTML? Because my front end renders HTML on the notification page. So this goes to the Flutter side. On the Flutter side, I render it in HTML in the widget. So I would, in this way, I am able to actually style my notification page from the backend. It's a server-side thing. So then whatever the server sends to the front end is displayed on the front end without uh, any further styling on the front end. That is, it doesn't require me to style again in the front end side. So I do that in this key, and then I get the plain text format of the same notification, and then I return also like the title. Now for each keyword that I need to translate, for each sentence or phrase that I need to translate, I passed in the key and a language property to this translate function. So what this translate function pretty much do is to map out of the translation variable or map that I created initially and pick out based on the language and the key. So it's a very n+1 case, and it gets my results. And so we can see that here we get back the translated the get language from the string, and then get the template and return it to wherever we are using this. So I put all of this in this file, and I'll show you how I use them. So let's say, for example, if there was a match, if there was a match and I need to send a notification to the user that there was a match, here is a function that says notify. So what it does is pretty much take a user's ID, finds the user on the database. I'm using GOM. So GOM does a pretty much nice ODM for getting wrappers for SQL. If you are from Laravel, you would already know that we do have something very similar in Laravel that helps us to wrap around SQLs, that we don't have to necessarily write SQL raw. But then I call it SQL, maybe you call it SQL, the same thing. So here I used a package called GOM, and it's pretty much a very nice tool, at least for now. And then I get the user that is being matched to, and then I get the user's preferred language from user's language, because here users already store their preferred languages from the front end side. So now I can get the user's language from the profile, and then I would pass that language to this template function, and here we can send a notification. For my notification method, after receiving the template, I pass in the title and the plain text into this like function that says send notification. So what this function does, I will show you. This function uses one signal. I'm using one signal, so I implemented one signal API in my project where I can send out notifications to users subscribed devices. So this one signal is a provider that allows you to implement push notifications, and I'm using it on the client side. But on the backend side, you could also like trigger notifications to users based on certain properties, for example, user ID. So one signal stores a user with user ID, and if the user allows push notification, and then you could trigger that push notification through that user's ID using one signal's API. If you want to know more about one signal, I could also show you that real quick. Boom. You could see it here. One signal. So one signal this is the product. If you wanted to use that for your project, I would highly recommend it. It makes it easy to implement that over using Firebase. I went with one signal because I don't need to use Firebase, not necessarily. So it's open to use for a longer number of usage per month, and it also um, easy to implement for me as in my experience. And you could see like the pricing is pretty much 10,000 free emails that you could send instead of like paying for an email server separately. And then you can send unlimited push notifications for free. I mean, that's too good to not use them. So I used push notifications with one signal. I don't know, man. You could check more details about Firebase. I'm not sure, but you could confirm that. But now you could also see that like it is easy for me to create a one signal service, and I will trigger the notifications through one signal using the external ID, which is actually my user UID, and then pretty much that. Once that is done, user receives notifications. So this is really good, and I think it's also advisable to try as much as possible to get your job done instead of trying to waste time on tools that will make life harder for you. It was like easy for me to implement my flow this way because now I don't need to worry about implementing a bogus translation service just to get translation done on the Golang side. So now I think like this project has been going smoothly so far, and I think this is going to be the end of this video. I'm just trying to test things out, and I would get to see you better next time. Cheers. Bye. And